Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Intel. It is time for another update, and it seems we may have started here our wave 2 correction, and this should be no surprise. We were anticipating a possible top within this initial structure to the upside around the $51-52 level. Yeah, around this area. We even pushed above it. We broke the last level of resistance, which is already quite a positive sign for the longer term, for the likelihood of a larger wave 3 to manage to get through. But clearly, after the earnings report, the Q1 prospects aren't necessarily as bullish, and we should be prepared for a larger correction. Now, can I call a top within this structure? Well, not yet. And for a couple of reasons, actually. So, within this push to the upside, we could still see further extensions higher, even if this is just a wave C, part of the fifth wave. We haven't necessarily broken the most relevant levels of support, but it would require quite a sharp recovery, I have to say. Then secondly, this could have been still part of the initial wave 3 to the upside. That means that we could still be looking for continuation higher in a fourth and a fifth. Now, I have to say, I would strongly prefer that we would get at least a fourth and a fifth within this area. I would prefer strongly that we get a sharp recovery for the structural integrity here, yeah? We could maybe consider this to be a wave 2 correction and get a wave 4 and the fifth wave to build here. I suppose something like a larger ABC structure for this to still manage to push through. So we will have relevant levels of support within this area. And yeah, if we don't manage to hold them, if we don't manage to recover quickly enough and also form a lower low and extend this correction drastically, I would be much rather prepared for the larger correction in wave 2. I probably slightly prefer that scenario, but again, I wouldn't call a top just yet. I would still be patient to see the internal structure this correction unfolds within. But clearly, a larger pattern is emerging. A larger correction within this area has started. Yeah, I doubt we could actually recover during the pre-market and basically save this massive downfall. Now, before we actually get to the internal structure within this movement, I would like to go quickly through the larger time frame for any of you who might be new. And here we have been tracking a more simple structure. There are multiple interpretations that we have been mentioning that we can track on this chart, but we have left only this idea of a simpler 1, 2, 3, 4th and a 5th to form within this area, exactly for the sake of simplicity. Now, could I go ahead and actually consider this to be a series of 1, 2 setups, and even here 1, 2, and follow up in a third wave right now? Certainly, it is certainly possible, but it is going to take a very significant amount of time before we could build that anyway. And I believe the most important thing right now is to focus regardless on the internal structure within this area, for which we can even have an ideal target for the wave 3. If you don't remember, we provided that in many of the videos already, but it is the 138.2% extension of the wave 1 around the $200 level. Yeah, that is still very much within reach. I would still strongly expect a third wave that would even push beyond that, especially if we form such a large initial wave 1 within this area. Yeah, I don't have any doubts that this is feasible for this structure to build. Now, internally, we have been tracking this wave 2 correction into the last level of support. Yeah, we pushed into the 78.6% retracement and we started our larger uptrend to the upside. In this uptrend, we were looking for a leading diagonal to form an initial 5-wave move. This allows us to look for a high probability 1-2 setup for continuation in at the very least another 5-wave move to the upside. Now, since we actually even broke the last level of resistance within this initial push, yeah, only briefly, nothing too significant, it is very likely that the next wave will instead be a third wave of an even larger wave 3. I would find it quite unlikely to build just an ABC structure within this area that would allow us or even suggest to us that we should expect further extensions lower. The wave 2 correction is clearly within a 3-wave pattern. Basically, all structures within this area heavily suggest that we should be tracking a larger wave 3 in the blue scenario. Now, in this structure, we have been tracking this yellow interpretation as part of the blue scenario, but we wanted to keep it in yellow to have it more clearly visible because we wanted to also see the larger area of support in blue because it was still providing relevant support across many of these movements to the upside. Yeah, we were pushing above it, we were testing from above, continuing higher. Testing from above, even here, testing from above, continuing higher. Even here, testing from above, continuing higher. It was relevant, so we wanted to keep that for context. Now, since we actually broke this last level of resistance in the orange interpretation that would have tracked a larger correction, I would probably remove it from the chart for now. But remember, this is not because it has been significantly broken. This is clearly not a sustained break. It was in the end like 1 or 2 days that we managed to stay above it, and in the end it could still technically take us to lower prices. Yeah, we can still go lower even if we did break it sustainably. Now, with that said, we were tracking in this area this idea of a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5th. We were tracking a leading diagonal, meaning within the 5th wave we were only looking for an ABC structure to consider a more significant top. Within this wave C, we were tracking this even in the previous video, we were looking for a potential 1, 2, 3, 4th, and a 5th to build this structure. I have to say, we actually followed this perfectly. Even within this structure, we were tracking a diagonal pattern. We were looking for an ABC structure. Within the 5th wave, we have followed that perfectly. We have built that perfectly. I wouldn't consider that we actually need any additional highs. But this 3rd wave, as I was mentioning in the previous video, actually could have still extended. It could even right now still extend. Yeah, I could be tracking it as an initial wave A up, a wave B down, and this could work out as a wave C. I could definitely see it work, and then we would be tracking here something like 1, 2, 3, 4th, and the 5th. For this, I would strongly need a correction in wave 4 to hold the relevant area of support and continue higher. Now, we won't be tracking this, of course, within the yellow interpretation, because within this scenario, I would like to consider a more significant top to already be in place within here, let's say a wave 1. Yeah, we have here the larger wave 1. We would be looking for the wave 2 correction and then to follow up in a wave 3. Although I do want you to keep in mind that we would need to add an updated area of support. Yeah, we did extend a little bit higher. So right now, the area of support for the wave 2 correction stands here at the levels between the $35.5 all the way down to the $22.5 level. We have here along the way even some structural support. Yeah, exactly at that first level, the 38.2% retracement, we have formed this significant bottom before this extension into the last wave to the upside. Now, if we really are to build a wave 2, I would strongly expect to get at least to the first level of support, and I would strongly expect to build a 3-wave pattern. Now, will that be the most clear 3-wave pattern? Well, not necessarily, but I would strongly expect to form a 3-wave move for this to be a reliable wave 2. If we form something like a 5-wave structure to the downside, we would need to be strongly prepared for even further extensions lower. Now, this is clearly not the case at the moment. We have just formed the top and we are falling down during the pre-market. But for extensions higher, it is still technically possible to track here a 1, 2, 3, 4th, and the 5th. In such a scenario, we could track this within, let's say, the green interpretation. We would have a larger area of support that would still be able to provide us the needed reversal. Yeah, in this case, we would be watching the levels between the $49 all the way down to the $41.5. So far, we are still well within high levels in this area of support, but we did reach it. I would expect to form a reversal and the 5th wave before failing to hold the last level of support. A break below that would strongly suggest to me that a more significant top would be expected to be in place within this wave 1. Now remember, the green interpretation is either expecting that the 5th wave in yellow is extending within a larger wave A, a wave B correction, and a wave C to the upside, or that it would be still part of the larger wave 3. Now, in terms of expectations, I would be inclined to believe this is the larger wave 2 unfolding. A sharp correction such as this that we currently have here on the chart is actually quite common after a large leading diagonal, generally after larger leading diagonals, to form such a sharp decline that could very well take us into the area of support in a quite direct fashion. But for now, there really isn't much else to add. I would certainly consider this wave to the upside to be complete. However, I really wouldn't expect further continuations higher, even though I cannot rule out even that. I cannot rule out that even within this structure we may still be able to extend higher, but it is within such a small time frame that I wouldn't necessarily want to go too much into those details. We have the larger area of support we need to track, we are within it, we don't need anything to extend higher. But yeah, if we actually just shoot up, I would expect it to still be part of the internal structure within this area. I would expect it to still be part of this wave to the upside. But for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days, weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.